Listen up. The soap you shower with, it's you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. They're still using whatever bar their mommy bought for her little man. Is that what you want? To smell like mama's little man? Ugh. But now you can upgrade your shower game with Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. Or don't, and continue to be mommy's little helper.
The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Live tonight from Speedway, Indiana, from one of the most historic and well-known racetracks in the world. It is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway tonight, plays host to round 11 of the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by SESRA for the historic 250 on LSRTV. Bring you inside the virtual booth as cars are starting to grid by way of Brett Wheeler, our producer. I'm David Schildhouse, joined alongside by JP Justin Prince. Justin, good to have you on the call here. We are set for 100 laps, 250 miles, round 11 of the Dr. Squatch Pro Series here for SESRA. And a lot of excitement anytime you come to one of these racetracks. A narrow racing surface, but just a great racetrack all in all for stock cars.
Absolutely. A lot of great history here at this circuit, but it's also a challenging one, where you want to keep the car as clean as possible while trying to maintain the best pace possible as the race goes on here tonight. It's going to be a challenge to balance both while making sure you're on the right strategy, especially with the tires.
And speaking of tires tonight, the allotment will be 3 sets of tires in the pits, so they'll have the set that they're starting the race with, plus 3 additional to help them get through the next 100 laps. And we'll get to some other specifics and some other storylines here in just a moment, but want to take a look at the LSRTV starting grid as we're about to roll off behind the iRacing.com pace car. The man on the pole tonight, no big surprise there. He won last week at Stafford. That's going to be the 00 of Spencer Preet to his outside, the man that he's been fighting all along in this championship, Jeff Ward in the 9. Row 2 will be made up of Michael Cozy Jr., and we'll see the return of Justin Bolton in the number 11 as well, so something for the rest of the field to consider there anytime you see his name pop up. Ryan Wash will roll off from the 5th position. Steve Ritter there will be in 6th. Matt Ridgway 7th. John Wimbish from 8th. Chris Berg in 9th. And Travis Brown will round out the top 10. Derek Paulson will roll off from 11th. Zachary Sprung in 12th. Will be Mark Arthur in 13th. Brian McRae 14th. And Jay Graves Jr. in 15th.
In the 16th spot, it's Ashton Shirless right now trying to battle from the middle of the pack with Michael Testio as well in 17th. The 18th spot right now is Taylor Butcher Benjamin, with Jeffrey J. Patterson and David Netzel rounding out the top 20. Jonathan Smith makes the start in the 21st spot, while Jason Anderson is in 22nd, with Jason Taylor and Andrew Ridgway rounding out the drivers that recorded times. Also, Kyle Vincent Gilbert did not record times, along with Mark Goyne, Doug Johnson, Scott W. Brown Jr., and Kevin Dye. Back at the end of longest line penalties given to Steve Ritter and Brian McRae before the start of tonight's race.
And we'll take a quick look as they work down the back straightaway here before they go green. Luckily, it's a 2.5 mile track, so we got a little bit of time here, Justin. But the past the halfway point of the season now, the North Regional section complete, those 10 races in the books. Jeff Ward took home the honor of winning that segment, if you will. Now we start the Midwest kick as the SESRA schedule moves west across the country. So we're here at Indianapolis tonight and looking ahead, and we'll get into some more of the Midwest racetracks as well. We'll talk about that later on in the event, but we'll turn our attention here. 100 laps at the Brickyard, nothing to thumb your nose at by any stretch of the imagination. Tire wear will be on the minds of these drivers here as they formulate their strategy. I talked to some drivers before the race, and they said they weren't sure if they were going to do a 2-stop strategy or they were going to go with the more traditional 3-stop since they have 3 sets of tires. We'll see how it all plays out. The field is in the hands of Spencer Preet. Jeff Ward alongside on the front row looking for the green flag as they work down the front straightaway. And there it is. Green flag is out. The historic 250 is underway as Spencer Preet and Jeff Ward work side by side, as does the rest of the field, down into turn 1.
And Michael Cozy Jr. just gave a slight kiss to the back bumper, in fact, to Spencer Preet right before the start of this race, telling him, I want to go now. And now he's having to fight aggressively just for that 3rd spot with a talented driver such as Justin Bolton on his outside.
A lot of good side-by-side. The first couple laps of restart are some of the most exciting here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You see these drivers fan out, leveraging the draft, trying to get a run on one another. You don't necessarily want to go side-by-side around this racetrack, Justin. It really will slow you down.
Hold on 1 second. We got cars in the wall, pardon me. And right now in turns 3 and 4, it was Ashton Schliss and Mark going, both of them sliding like crazy in turn 3.
And no caution as a result. Ashton Schliess getting the worst for the wear there in his icebreakers number 19. You can see that Mustang, a lot of damage on the rear end and the right rear as well. And I think that was the point that I was trying to get at. You don't necessarily want to go side by side. It's real tricky. Not a lot of grip, and that car on the inside can slip. There's not a lot of grip on the outside lane to run either. And you really just want to try and get settled down to single file racing, much like Darlington, a one groove racetrack here at Indianapolis as well. And unfortunately for Ashton Schliess, lap 1, he goes into the wall.
Yeah, Goyne just kept it off the wall himself, but you hit it right on the head. If you are on the outside line, you'll see so many drivers, especially in a 100-lap race like this here at the Brickyard, that will just give up the position and try and regain it down the next straightaway, because if you're on the outside line, not only do you lose a lot of time going through these tight corners, but also you wear out the tires. If you're up there for, say, 2-3 laps in a row, your tires are completely shot for the entire run. So that is all in the minds of a lot of these drivers when trying to make passes and hoping that you don't get stuck up there in a side-by-side situation.
Everything seems to have settled out for the most part, and I think where most guys are going to end up getting into trouble is on corner exit. You'll see these guys have to check up real suddenly, as I just saw it right there, the 91 of John Wimbish off of turn 2, misjudged his exit, had to check out of the gas, and Justin Bolton right there had to make a dramatic move to the inside to not run him over. And I think that'll be a theme that we see play out continuously here tonight, as guys just misjudging as the tire wear continues to become a factor and the grip goes away. They think they can get off the corner better than they actually can. You run out of room, all of a sudden you stab the brakes or get out of the throttle. That guy behind you has no chance to miss you, and you end up making contact there. Justin Bolton avoided that, but I think that's something we'll see pop up from time to time here tonight.
Yeah, and so many drivers here have different braking lines here. A lot of drivers, because you have to take each corner differently, so to speak, you kind of have different braking lines in turns 1 and 3. Some drivers like to brake right at the one side, some like to back up the corner entry for both the corners, or for at least one of the corners rather. So it's kind of hard to make sure you get that timed up right, because if you misjudge that, just based on what you've been seeing falling behind that racer, you are going to absolutely humble the next driver in front of you and send them off spinning and potentially bring out the caution flag.
I was watching practice before we came on the air here tonight, and I saw these guys really struggling, a lot of them for the most part struggling to run consistent laps as the tire wear continued to be a factor for them. I spoke specifically with Jeff Ward, driver of the number 9, currently in 2nd place, about how the tire wear would affect a run. He said over the course of about 15 laps or so, you would notice as much as 2 or even 3 seconds of fall off from your first lap to your 15th lap. That's pretty significant, Justin. You think about 2 to 3 seconds, and that's playing into these guys thinking about the strategy that they want to employ. If they want to do shorter stints and do 3 pit stops and try and make up the time that way, or do just 2 stops and try and stay out on the track longer, but knowing they're going to be running slower lap times.
I think that might actually come into play, yes, because you, of course, don't want to get caught on a caution, but just the difference of hitting between 2 laps can lose you, say, about 4 seconds on the track by the time you come back out, but you can gain that so much quicker on the fresher tires. It's going to be about, I think, driver preference here in that kind of a case, to see who are the ones who are going to try and risk it and hope and pray they don't get that caution flag situation to put them off the wrong strategy and force them to have to get a wave around at a track where you cannot afford to even take 2 tires on a difference of even half a lap, let alone 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, the difference of tires is greatly magnified at a track like Indianapolis, and perhaps it'll play itself out, and we'll see it at some point when somebody gets a little bit cute and tries to outthink themselves and try a different tire strategy. You'd be surprised how quickly it looks like they threw the anchor out. But looking at our top 4 here, Spencer Preet, Jeff Ward, Michael Cozy Jr., and Justin Bolton. Bolton starting to track down the 99 of Cozy Jr. just ever so slightly. Jeff Ward sits about a half a second back from Preet right now. So these 4 sort of broken away from the rest of the pack. John T. Wimbish running in 5th, sits about 2.5 seconds back from the leader. So as it stands right now, Justin, it looks to be about a 4-car battle. And for the first 10 races of the season, I should say, these have been the 4 guys when Bolton has showed up. Certainly the top 3 have been the ones we usually seem to talk about.
Yeah, all these drivers up in this top group, always running up towards the front, while Cozy Jr. is entering the points, of course, just inside the top 10 of the 9th spot. He's shown so much talent in the overall championship throughout this season, I think, and it just comes down to strategy. But then you have guys like Spencer Preet and Jeff Ward, where if you've seen them drive, they're some of the most dominant drivers I think you'll ever see in the service, along with Justin Bolton, once you get them into a proper car and most comfortable racetrack. And that's what is the case for all 4 of these drivers, I think, here, and why they're just hitting the perfect rhythm and so far just pulling on away. Right now, they're at least 4/10 quicker than 5th place from the end of the field, and Justin Bolton for the top 4 group, all the way back to John Wimbish in the 5th spot.
Speaking of Justin Bolton, he's putting a lot of pressure on the rear bumper cover of Michael Cozy Jr. as they work down the back straightaway. Jeff Ward closing in on Spencer Preet as well. And we talk about Justin Bolton. He's only made a few starts here this year. Last time we saw him was back at Dover at the end of November. He ended up taking that checkered flag. Previous to that, we saw him at Atlanta, where he looked primed for a win and had a connection issue take him out of that one. So he's been competitive as expected. For anyone who knows the iRacing service pretty well, Justin Bolton, definitely one of the top drivers. Anytime he comes out to the racetrack here, as he peeks to the inside of Cozy, nothing doing there. But I know there's an added incentive here tonight, Justin, which just became news to me. There's money on the line to be won here for whoever takes this checkered flag, and I think they're even paying out 2nd place as well. So perhaps a little bit of extra motivation, not like they needed it, but perhaps that's why Justin Bolton here, he wants to take some cold hard cash home tonight as well.
And I caught the tail end of that discussion, in fact, too, once we're getting prepared for tonight's broadcast. And kind of what the goal is, basically, is to hopefully eventually get to where you can pay from 1st all the way back to 25th. And having sponsorships like they do, like the SESRA series has with Dr. Squatch, I think can really help get towards that way. That's the direction a lot of esports are going. And that would be absolutely huge for this league to gain the credibility to be able to do something like that. It's going to take a lot of hard work, though, to get to where they want to be. But for now, they're right now on the positive track, I have to say.
Well, it's good to have a sponsor, somebody to support this league, and Dr. Squatch came on just a few weeks ago, and we talk about Dr. Squatch Soap Company. We'll get to them here in just a moment. Jeff Ward peeks to the inside, down the back straightaway, looking for the lead to take it away from Spencer Preet. Preet's led since the drop of the green flag, and almost in tandem, Justin Bolton drops to the inside. They both complete passes there, so put Ward out front, put Justin Bolton up to 3rd. Spencer Preet looks to the inside to try and make a move there, but nothing happening, and Cozy will fall back to 4th. So Bolton on the move forward, Jeff Ward up to the point. That's something we've seen a lot of this year between Preet and Ward, but Ward out front seemingly just a slight edge when it comes to taking care of his stuff over the long run. That's really been to his benefit, and why he ended up taking that segment win earlier in the season for the first segment for the North Division, or North segment, or however they want to classify it. Now as they work into the Midwest, looking to establish some dominance there. But in the overall, the big picture, Jeff Ward is the points leader coming into tonight by some 6 points, I believe, over Spencer Preet. So a lot of things to keep an eye on here as they work down the back straightaway. You'll see him snaking from side to side, trying to break that draft. The draft does come into play here. Anything you can do to disrupt the air, as Preet sort of missed.
like a rock, so the tire wear starting to really come in for him and Cozy. Both Bolton and Ward, both good at managing tires, start to pick up the pace.
I think Justin Bolton is working his way more and more into that competitive, I need to get up to the lead sort of mode. He's been laying back, sort of taking his time. He dispatched Cozy with not too much of a fight, and now he gets to the back bumper of Spencer Preet. We'll see how much of a fight Preet puts up, but Justin, this racetrack is one of those, it's so momentum-based, and we talk about momentum a lot, but here especially, you see a lot more of it, especially in these Xfinity cars. Momentum is to your advantage. If you can get a great run off the corner.
Oh, we have trouble, pardon me. Jason Anderson is just spun just at the edge of the racetrack, and this might bring out the caution in the middle 1 and 2, guys.
Take a look at it. Looks like he got, he's down on the apron there in the middle of the turns. I don't think it's going to bring out the yellow flag either. So a couple of incidents here and no yellow flag to show for it. Unfortunate for Jason Anderson in the 27 here tonight. It's just one of those things, slight contact all by himself. Looks like he might have just lost the handle. Comes up off the corner, smacks the outside wall, and it just sends him directly into the inside wall. Hard impact on the front end there. Rear tires come off the ground. That's a very hard impact for Jason Anderson, and that should bring a premature end to his night.
Yeah, this is looking like the end of his night here. Motor's got to be absolutely totaled on that incident, because you would expect to see in that kind of a situation some drivers start to have to get off the gas to avoid touching the wall towards lap 15, but you have to anticipate when that's going to happen as the battle for second starts to form up.
A lot of pressure now being applied by Justin Bolton, much like he did to Michael Cozy Jr., just trying to set up Spencer Preet to get a run, just like he is right here down the long front straightaway, peeking to the inside, and Preet's going to have no choice but to just sort of give him the position here. You can't really fight back. You see he checks up out of the gas so he can make his entry down into turn 1. That's really the preferred way, the optimal way, if you're going to say there's an optimal way to get past. That's really the way to do it here at the Brickyard. So put Justin Bolton up to second now, as he'll set his sights on the rear of that number 9 Ford Mustang driven by Jeff Ward. He sits about 0.7 of a second back as we speak. We'll see how long it takes for him to reel in Jeff Ward. Not something many people have been able to do this season, but if there's a driver that's shown he's able to do that, it is Justin Bolton. But he's got a long way to go around this racetrack to try and catch Ward.
Absolutely agree with you here. That was a smart race management move from Preet to not battle the position too hard. It's way too early on to race that aggressively, especially when the tire wear comes in. What the strategy I think is for Preet, hope you can follow in the tire tracks of Bolton and just keep in a slipstream in his draft. Because if he can gain the momentum back, he could potentially pull himself back up to where Jeff Ward is on the racetrack if he stays right up to the back of Bolton, or a decent pace rather.
And I'm not sure he's going to be able to necessarily hang with him. He was out front for, the first, 10 laps or so before he surrendered the lead to Jeff Ward. And running out front, yeah, you're going to wear your tires out a little bit more. So I'm not sure he's going to necessarily be able to keep pace with Justin Bolton per se. But if he can stay within shouting range of him, get a little bit of a slipstream, he's still got Cozy behind him. That isn't necessarily a threat right now. It could pay some dividends for him for sure.
And that's why I said the maybe there. If he can't keep up, do exactly what you just said. Keep up with the pace, keep it calm, and keep on going. At this pace, he's right now running about even, it seems, with Michael Cozy Jr. this time by, just about dead even in lap time. So just has to keep him in spitting distance for when the first pit stops fall, especially with the fuel window, about 35 laps to the max.
And taking a look at the lap times themselves, Justin Bolton about 1/10 of a second better that last time by than Jeff Ward. That gap at about, let's call it 0.6 of a second as they run right now, and shrinking just a little bit. So, I think over the long run, Bolton probably will catch up to Jeff Ward here. Getting a little bit of a toe down these straightaways, but I think he knows time's on his side. He's got the ability. He's definitely got the car management to be able to pull it off. So he's not in a huge rush to get there, but looks like he's getting a decent run off the corners, and certainly he's taking advantage of that draft that's available to him. So these 4 guys out front are sort of equidistant from one another. It's kind of interesting as you look at it, Justin. Sort of the same distance from one to the next, and it just tells you these guys are really on the same page.
It absolutely does, and they just keep on pulling more and more away from the rest of the group, and it's so important to do so here in the early going, But you can see the way Justin Bolton's driving. He's trying to get away from Preet, breaking that draft down the backstretch every time he can. He wants to ditch both Preet and Cozy Jr. and try and pull it away. And he needs to keep up the pace as well as do that where he breaks the draft down the backstretch to try and do so without being over-aggressive while doing so, of course.
If there's one thing that these 4 drivers here that we see on screen are really, I think where they excel more often is being able to be aggressive, up the pace, if you will, on any given lap, but not necessarily abuse the equipment. I think that's why they're so successful. You look at Jeff Ward, 3 wins on the season. Spencer Preet, 4 wins. Justin Bolton, 1 win, and arguably could have had a second if not for some bad luck. And Michael Cozy Jr. been very, very close to getting a win of his own, just fall a little bit short, but he's going up against a couple of real titans of this series. So you got all these wins up here in the top 3 or 4 positions and guys that have been very, very close. It's tough to keep beating the same guys or get beat by the same guys week in, week out, and for Justin Bolton to come in here and sort of slot himself between the 2 winningest drivers in the series right now, he's got to feel pretty good about that.
I think so, and it shows the talent he has, as we talked about a little bit here and there. I've raced against him in many different races, whether it's A Open or sometimes V Open or in the NASCAR iRacing series, the basically lawn form races for NASCAR on the iRacing service. And he is usually up in the top 5 every single race in the top or second splits. This guy can win at any certain type of racetrack, and he's showing that talent in SESRA. And I think will continue to show that as the season progresses from here on out as well. The more races he runs, the more he's going to be running up towards the front.
Absolutely, and perhaps he'll make more starts as the season goes on as well. You know, this is only his 3rd start, I believe. I'm correct when I say that, and he's definitely been a factor every time he's hit the racetrack. But you know, maybe we'll see him come out a little bit more. I know there's some money on the line, and perhaps that has something to do with it. But I think he really enjoys the competition that he faces when he comes out to run in this series as well. So I know the league organizers and administrators would love to see the best talent available come and run in their series. So when they see Justin Bolton show up, it's got to make them feel good, and Bolton's got to enjoy the competition that he gets from guys like Jeff Ward and Spencer Preet.
I think so. But speaking of competition, to go back towards that 5th and 6th place cars if we can right now, yes, they may be about 5 seconds back, but Ryan Wash, now that he's been able to pass on by for 5th along past John Whitvish, in the past couple laps, he's now matching the exact same pace as some of the drivers up in that top 4 group. So this, if Wash can get maybe a caution now that he's got through some traffic, and offer a more 4/10 off the pace driver, and currently on average lap times, he might be able to do something Wash can if he can somehow get some luck to get to the back of the top 4.
That's a great point, and he doesn't have any draft in front of him like the top 4 do, so he doesn't really have that benefit. And if he's running within, 3 or 4 tenths of a second, or even better than that, it was almost 2 tenths of a second slower than Jeff Ward there without any draft. Yeah, that tells me he's definitely got the pace to compete with these guys. So you're right, he's definitely going to need a caution to make up the 7 seconds or so that he's back from these guys right now. But you put him up there in that mix, and he could definitely be a 5th player when it comes to guys fighting for a checkered flag when it's all said and done.
Absolutely, because he's right now in the top 5 for fastest lap times in the overall race right now, too. So it's just going to need to get some strategy as the lap traffic is starting to come into play, I think, for the lead group, as Andrew Ridgway starts to have to let drivers on by in the 76.
A good little fight right here. Chris Berg in that beautifully painted Citgo number 24. I really like that paint scheme. Nice little throwback there. Worked his way past an equally throwback prepared number 13 as well. So I had to look real quick, make sure we weren't at Darlington celebrating throwback weekend. These guys busting out some classic paint schemes. Very well-known NASCAR historic paint schemes there is Derek Paulson in the number 5. And his normal paint scheme is at the back of this trio here, trying to work over the 13 of Ridgway. But some nice looking race cars out here tonight, Justin.
Yeah, some really nice race cars. Looking back towards like the mid-1990s, really. The thing is, you got to make sure you get the pace to try and match that. And these guys have just not had the slight pace yet. Right now, I think they need some luck, big-time luck, to have a chance in this race.
And, you know, I think Indianapolis is definitely one of those tracks where you're going to get some separation between guys, as you see here, as some guys are more comfortable with this style. It's a 2.5 mile speedway, but it's a very flat racetrack. Very little banking to help you. So the guys that run well at flat racetracks, we were just at one, you know, last week at Stafford, 2 weeks before that at New Hampshire. These guys that are comfortable running flat tracks, you definitely benefit here, even with the higher speeds and the bigger overall length at 2.5 miles. It still requires a certain skill set, and some guys just aren't comfortable. As Paulson now peeks to the inside underneath Ridgeway, try and get this pass.
Error. Error. Error.
During the First World War, big soap started taking out all the natural ingredients to make production cheaper and faster. And they replaced all the natural stuff with chemicals. Chemicals like sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens, and dioxane. Chemicals linked to depression, liver damage, cancer, and low sperm count. And worst of all, dry skin. Oh. Your poor balls, all dry, empty, and sad. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. We make our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. Ingredients like oils, plants, goat's milk, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, shea butter, and citrus. No. Turn your shower game up to 11 with the smooth lather of gold moss or the exfoliating woodsy bliss that is pine tar. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men.
My name is Steven Corpenos. I'm a senior web developer here at iRacing, and I work on the beta UI. It's funny because iRacing has been around for 10 years, but we want to keep delivering the best possible user experience to our customers, and we've found that the old UI isn't exactly what we're trying to deliver in 2018. We want to use new features and provide the best possible experience when using the sim. One of the projects that I've been working on is some custom heat racing configuration for hosted races. We've been listening to our customers. Everyone's been asking for custom heat races. Maybe you want to tweak a few things with the preset iRacing configurations. Well, now you can using the beta UI. So once you're at the home page of the beta UI, you just go to create a race. Then from there you go to your set race options. And you'll notice here under event types, you can actually choose heat racing. First, I'm going to show you how to create a new format from scratch. You can choose the number of entrants. And as you can see, when I made that change, the change was actually reflected on the right side in the graph. Also, you can use the estimated duration at the bottom of the graph when you're changing the length to see what the total duration of your event will be. In addition, you can customize every aspect of the session information, practice, qualifying, heat races, consolations, and of course, the final feature race. Because the beta UI allows us to develop features that are robust and complex, this feature will be exclusively available on the beta UI. Once you've made all of the changes, you can hit save. Say you forgot what you selected. You can always preview it using the preview format button. We are very excited to release the brand new heat racing configuration feature that will be available in Season 3 of iRacing.
And we're back alive here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the historic 250 here on LSRTV. Thanks for suffering through our technical problems. Not fun when they arise, but thankfully our wonderful producer Brent Wheeler had a backup plan ready for us, so we've jumped on to Discord to continue this lovely commentary. It's myself, David Schulthouse, and Justin Prince. And Justin, never a good time to have technical problems, but the racing gods were nice enough to at least give us a yellow flag to get it all sorted out. Our first yellow flag of the evening. It looks like the man up front is going to be Justin Bolton in the number 11.
Yeah, that was after a mistake on pit road. In fact, trying to get into the box for a couple drivers, both Greet and Ward, overshot the box. And this is such a tight pit road to get into because it's so easy to just overshoot your box by even just a couple feet. And that lost them at least a couple spots apiece. And because that caution brought up by the 227 and Kyle Vincent Gilbert has put Ryan Wash in the spot he's needed to be in this race tonight.
Yeah, we were talking about it before the technical difficulties that Justin Wash really needed to get, or Ryan Wash, I should say, really needed to get a yellow flag. He was running competitive lap times, and now he's got that opportunity starting on the outside of the front row. So now we got to see what he can do with that opportunity that's been given to him. We look, Jeff Ford back to 5th. Spencer Preet is way down in the running order, along with Michael Cozy Jr. as well. Difficulties for a lot of guys here on this exchange on the first pit stop. That's an easy way to lose a race. Spencer Preet, I should correct myself, he is 3rd. Second car in the inside lane.
Yes, indeed. This is going to be an interesting restart where Justin Bolton decides to go. Some drivers wait until the green flag. Others go for a 3-second count, really, since once the pace car goes down, we'll have to see what strategy he put.
Well, the pace car is off. Field is in the hands of Justin Bolton here for the first restart of the night, coming on lap 29. Green flag back in the air here, coming to start lap 30. Ryan Walsh on the outside trying to hang with them, but Bolton got a great start. Here comes Preet in the 00 on the inside. Jeff Ward trying to come with them, gets chopped off by the 91 of Wimbish. Nice strong move there. So side by side for second as they work through the first chute. Wash on the outside, not where you want to be. Here comes Wimbish now as Preet clears him. Wimbish to the inside, fighting for third down the back straightaway.
And Walsh has that line he needs to, though, on the launch, on the restart. You can try and take advantage of the outer line if you can time it up right and able to just defend, but look at Jeff Ward. He's now able to get to the bottom side, but Wimbish is not going to make it easy as the clouds start to settle in over the racetrack. Look at the 24, Chris Berg, though. He wants to try and get into the front as well.
Absolutely. This is the best time to take advantage of things, is that restart as they come to complete this first lap of the restart. I see Cozy back in the field trying to make a big move down to the inside, down the front straightaway as well, as he tries to get back into the top 10. He's currently running 12th, trying to get around Steve Ritter, having some difficulty there as they're side by side in front of him. Ritter and the number 12 of Mark Arthur, those two going at it in front of Cozy. So he's got to be patient here, bide his time, not make a mistake, and hopefully he can get through these guys and continue his pursuit. But he's lost a lot of ground in that 99, a long way to go to make it up.
And I think that's in part if you can take a close look on the front nose, there's some damage. You might have spent 5 seconds getting repairs on the nose. It looks like possible contact in the final couple laps before the caution or under pit road. So that is why he's lost so many spots on the pit cycle, it appears. And now, on a track that's so aero-dependent, that can absolutely hurt you if you don't have the right car. If you're under 10 seconds, you can try and balance it back, but it's going to make it much more difficult to try and win the race today.
Cozy Jr., no stranger to what damage can do and how it can affect your race. 2 weeks ago at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, he was out front and got caught up in a mistake by a lapped car, got some damage on the front end, and it really altered his outcome. He was really in position to take that win, and after that contact, the car just wasn't the same, and Jeff Ward was able to take advantage of that and take the win away from Cozy. So Cozy trying to keep the nose clean, as it were, and you know, just keep the car in one piece. Sometimes these things are just, they're out of your hands. There's nothing you can do about it. But in this situation, you just got to take care of the equipment, as he now will jump to the inside of the 16, getting by Steve Ritter. So that'll put him up to 10th.
So he does have some pace out of the car. That's the positive thing. But the negative thing is you also got to hope that your engine temps aren't going to go too hot than you want to with the same amount of tape that you're running before. One of the main things that's going to help, I think, is it's getting a cooler track with the clouds coming out. But as soon as the clouds come back up, I think that's when the worries can start to settle back on the racetrack, I think, for Cozy Jr. He just has to keep the pace up for as long as he can in this car while hoping he can manage the damage, as little as it seems.
As we look at everybody get single file now through the top 10, I want to highlight some big movers here. Taylor Butcher-Benjamin in the number 8 has worked his way up to the 9th spot. Derek Paulson is up to 8th. Mike Montesi currently running 7th in the number 7 as well. So those guys have moved themselves into the top 10 as Cozy Jr. looks at the back bumper of Butcher-Benjamin trying to work his way around him. They'll go side by side further back in the pack. Looks to be the 22 of Scott Brown Jr. going side by side with the 01 of Travis Brown. That fight for about 15th. As they go through turn 1 side by side there, the 22 hung up on the outside lane. And you can sort of get freight trained if you're not careful, Justin, here at Indianapolis. These guys on the inside lane using that one groove to their advantage. You can lose a bunch of spots in a hurry.
You absolutely can, especially when you have to get off the gas to try and avoid the wall. That just happened, appears to be on the 91 of Wimbish in front, and Jeff Ward was able to quickly take advantage. So drivers starting to make mistakes even in the early run. Drivers have to start backing up the entries. It's not to the point where you can just mash the gas, of course, on the exits. You have to manage the throttle as the tire starts to come down, especially since some of these entries are just absolutely just rolling the car in on the entry for the fastest cars in the field.
Jeff Ward now back up to the 4th position as he will try and track down the number 1 of Ryan Wash. Following up on the Wash story line there, restarted second. He's lost some ground now, about a second and a half back from Justin Bolton. He's lost second place to Spencer Preet as well, but doing a nice job hanging on and maintaining, now sort of playing out and showing what he could do after starting up front. But, we look at the bigger picture here. Most everybody, I should say, coming down under that yellow flag to get their service and take on their first set of tires as there's contact up front. Justin Bolton moving around the race car. I'm not sure who that was that he worked his way around the 76, I believe, of Andrew Ridgway. Close moment there, but that allows, look at how much Spencer Preet just closes in there on Justin Bolton. And there's some damage. I can see it clear as day on the right front of that 11 of Justin Bolton. So again, more drama for the leader running into slower cars.
And I don't think that 76 is making a lot of friends out there at Ridgeway, because Michael Cozy Jr. got held up a ton when he reached the 76 on the last green flag run. Look at how much they're holding up right now, third on spot. Finally able to get across the track, but that held up the one just so much that Jeff Ward would squeak on by quickly. An absolute nerve-wracking decision there from the 76, just nowhere to go as he tries to hug the bottom side, and cars having to dodge the high side to avoid him.
That is definitely not the way that you want to try and get around race cars when the groove is on the bottom lane. So it's some really tough goings there, but you look at how this has affected the number 11 of Justin Bolton. That was significant contact that he made into the left side door of Andrew Ridgway when he tried to get by him. The right front fender and hood are caved in on the Bolton machine, and we talked about it. Damage here is almost a death sentence, if you will, and so Spencer Preet will take the lead back. And Justin Bolton's got to be wondering what he's got to do to try and get competitive again. I don't care how much skill you have. With the amount of damage that I see on that number 11, he's going to be hard-pressed to hang tight.
He's going to have to hope for a caution for every single cent of damage on there, because that is the kind of damage, especially on the right front and the right rear, that affects you, I think, the most on the track. And the risk of suspension damage on that side of the car as well. So it is where he's going to start falling and losing some pace. He's going to need the perfectly timed caution for him to have a shot to win this race again, or even run in the top 5, because he'll slowly drop on back in terms of pace.
Yeah, it's a losing proposal for him at this point. Jeff Ward licking his chops, knowing he's got that wounded vehicle in front of him. He's going to be able to work around him sooner rather than later. And so for Justin Bolton, he's just got to go into damage control mode. No pun intended, as he's got damage on the right front there. But it seems like there's been, I don't know, a few weeks now where we've seen this happen. I recall it happening to Cozy Jr., like I said, in New Hampshire, and a couple other places as well, where Jeff Ward at Watkins Glen, sorry, I'm stumbling over my memory here, but Jeff Ward at Watkins Glen had the same issue where he had contact going into the inner loop trying to get by a slower car, and that affected his ability to battle with Spencer Preet and ultimately cost him a chance at a win. So it's this recurring theme of guys struggling to get around lapped cars, or lapped cars struggling to get out of the way properly. And, not to rain terror down on Andrew Ridgway. I'm sure he's doing his best to get out of the way. It's just an unfortunate situation, and wrong place, wrong time for Justin Bolton.
Yeah, absolutely wrong place, wrong time. Not in the proper line, not enough time to get to the proper line from where he was on the racetrack. And you gotta know where to be. A lot of drivers prefer you as a lap driver to be on the bottom side down the straight, but on the high side here at Indy on the high line. Relatives, or else that is where you start getting cars nearly running into the back of you, which is starting to happen more so and more so, no offense to Ridgway. Yeah, indeed, right now. It's getting a little bit nerve-wracking, I think, for a couple of these drivers now, because now we're to the point where it's about 20 laps into the run once again, and that's where the tire fall-off is going to start coming into play once again for some of these drivers here. So if you don't come together, I think, and make sure if you have the conserving rather on this run, you are going to lose a heck of a amount of time in these next few minutes here, and could be the possible caution.
Try and get things worked out here. All right, we seem to be in good shape now. Thank you, Brett Wheeler. Doing a great job getting us back on track here. And Justin, thank you for holding things down. Something on my end, I'll say, probably my fault, but that's the way it goes. But in any event, we're working lap 42 now. So getting close to the halfway point of this race. Spencer Preet looks to be in good shape. But I think Jeff Ward has equal pace to match him and is starting to reel him in. Looking at the lap times, Jeff Ward about a 1/10 of a second faster each lap here, Justin. So, yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before we have another bout of Jeff Ward versus Spencer Preet once again on the racetrack.
Wouldn't be surprised to see that, in fact, right now, because Ward was faster on the last run than Preet. He's done the same. He's taking the entry a bit more later on the brakes, but he's got the confidence to get on the gas quick enough to be able to make sure he gets around the corner, and he's arcing it much more differently compared to Preet. Preet's looking much more tighter, especially on exit 2, which is where the main advantage can be for Jeff Ward to try and make the pass work. It's just about keeping the multiple laps. It's going to take a few laps to set this on up for him.
And Jeff Ward has demonstrated all season long. He has the patience. He has the know-how. Preet scrapes the wall coming through the chute there. That's good for Jeff Ward to be able to reel him in as well. But Jeff Ward has been an absolute master when it comes to patience over the course of the long run, and he is just making up gobs of time now. Spencer Preet once again messed up the exit of turn 2 and just keeps it down on the inside of the racetrack, giving Jeff Ward clear sailing through back up to the lead. No reason to fight him there. Preet just made too many mistakes in that sequence of events there to maintain the lead, and Jeff Ward, being the smooth, calm driver that he is, will say thank you very much and go back up front. So put the 9 back out on the point. Spencer Preet back to second as Justin Bolton has lost a bunch of time. He's about a 1.7 seconds back from these guys, falling into the clutches of Ryan Wash.
And now Preet might be in a similar situation, not as much as where Bolton is damage-wise, but when he got very tight in that turn 1 and 2 exit rather, he scraped the wall to the point he damaged the right front just a little tiny bit. So it's going to hurt him a little bit, not severely, but it's going to be where he needs to hope he gets the pace. You're going to see in the straight line speed, it's going to hurt him by about a mile per hour or 2 in momentum each time he goes around down the straight.
It's absolutely the worst feeling in the world. As a race car driver, Justin, you've done this, I'm sure. I know I've certainly done it plenty of times when I've driven. When you're doing everything you can to try and stay in front of a guy that you know you're competing with week in and week out, and you make a mistake that you know just really hands all the advantage in the world to that guy, it's just a gut-wrenching feeling, isn't it?
It completely is a gut-wrenching feeling, especially when you know it's a mistake that you could have avoided. So the best you can do to try and to correct that mistake, though, is to recover, and recover well. If you dwell on it, that's where things snowball, and that's where some of the good drivers are the great drivers rather are separated from the good drivers. The good drivers are the ones who are able to rebound. The worser drivers are the ones that get in multiple incidents after scraping the wall and keep on stewing in their mind.
Absolutely right. I think that's well said, and recovering, rebounding, and moving on from it, having a short-term memory. But, you know, you look at the gap here. Spencer Preet hasn't fallen off of Jeff Ward very much at all. He's almost closed in just a little bit on him. So not sure if it's Jeff Ward sort of peeling back the pace a little bit, knowing that he's got an undamaged race car and therefore a much bigger advantage already, or Spencer Preet's just able to run well with the advantage of the draft there in front of him. But I think ultimately Jeff Ward's going to win out just by virtue of not having damage on the car.
Indeed, and going to the 99, I think you see him on your screen just bobbing and weaving, trying to get by the 24 machine just now in Chris Berg, and losing all the time he gained up to try and get up to 6. Just about to mention how he got up to 7, Michael Cozy Jr., but an absolutely near scary moment, locking up the left front, it looked like, on brakes.
Got to be real careful when you go to try and make these passes. You got to assume that the guy sees you trying to make that pass and leaves you enough room. And Cozy, I think, overestimated his entry there, and to not take out the 24 locked her up. But Mike Montesi there in the 7 looking on. Derek Paulson at the back of this pack as well. So nice little 4-car scramble here from 6th through 9th. But Cozy Jr. trying to recover from that pit road mistake and work his way back deeper inside of the top 10, try and get to the top 5. He's got a long way to go still, as he's 6 seconds off of the lead, but he's got to get by Berg first and foremost. And you've really got to set up these passes. You mentioned it a few times, Justin. You got to set up your passes, think a little bit ahead, so that you're getting that run off the corner so you can make the pass down the straightaway instead of making that move going into the corner. It's just such a tough thing to pull off, as Cozy now works down at the bottom side of the 24, doing exactly what he needs to do.
Yep, perfect spot. It's just a question, will Berg just give him the spot? There's still ways to go. Does the right thing, gives him the spot, pardon me there, and now Cozy can just try and coast. He's got a better pace. Now the thing is, he won't have the draft to help him as much down the straights with the damage, but he's shown he's faster in the corners to try and balance out that time and make up some time as well to get away from his competitors.
Absolutely. Overtaking a guy is one thing, getting away from him is another, and Cozy Jr. has shown pretty good pace here as he's out front of this foursome, and I think I can see just, visually on the track, he's starting to pull away from the 24 as he'll set his sights ahead. He's got about 1.3 seconds to catch up to John Wimbish in the 91, so he's got to use these guys as some draft help to get up there and hope they don't try and overtake him, because anytime you're going for an overtake, you're just losing time. But Cozy Jr. seems to be in a good position now in 6th. If he gets another yellow flag, that's really going to be the thing that brings him closest to the front the easiest. I'm not sure he's going to be able to erase this deficit on the track.
And you got to think, too, you talked about pit strategy. There's still a couple sets of tires, sets of tires for these drivers to have. That may come into play potentially. You're reaching towards the end of the fuel run, just about this limit at this point, just about 30 laps, give or take, at this point. So that's going to get a little bit more and more interesting when they reach that point, as Cozy Jr. nearly tapped the wall.
Got to be careful when you're out there by yourself. You don't have any visual markers to overstep those boundaries and clip the wall. We've seen, Spencer Preet do that himself. We've seen some other guys get up into the wall as well. That's a quick way to kill any hope you have of getting up into the top 5 and competing for a win for Michael Cozy Jr. So he's just got to be real patient, be real careful. I think he's ultimately going to reel in. Looking at the timing and scoring, he is faster than John T. Wimbish right now. So he'll get to the back bumper of that 91 and continue his march forward, but he's got to take care of the cars. Do all of these drivers. You can't put it into the outside fence, but at this track, it is so difficult not to do that. You want to get back to the gas to get a good run down these long straightaways. You get back to the gas too soon, the car pushes up to the wall, and then you're tackling that outside wall and you're tearing up the right side, and that's just not good.
It's absolutely not good, especially the aerodynamics was hit on a little bit before, and you don't want to have that even worse. So it's about just backing up your entries, being a bit more patient on the gas, and then feathering the throttle, so to speak, when getting back towards full throttle. Once you know you're able to clear the corner without touching the wall, you should be able to make the corner. It's about anticipating if you're going to get too tight or get loose on a corner entry to make contact with the wall or lose control of the car in general.
And again, talking with the drivers before this race here tonight, and just looking at the general attitude of these race cars as they work around the track, I noticed that the front end seemed to be sort of high up in the air for, relatively speaking, the front end, the splitter being really far up off the racetrack. And when I saw that, I sort of assumed that the setup itself was going to be a little bit on the snug side, if you will, a little tight, as the drivers like to call it. And I confirmed this with the drivers from Loud Pedal Motorsports, Jeff Ward and Derek Paulson. They both said, yeah, this setup's a little bit on the snug side, and that just sort of magnifies the tire wear as you're just putting a lot of steering input into the car as you go around the track. So you take an already snug car and try and get it slowed down and turning in these flat corners. That's a tall order to ask out of these heavy stock cars.
It is, and that's where the tire management comes in, where the best drivers are the ones that are going to be able to drive a tight car and still manage to drive it like normal, if that so much makes sense. If there's, say, a looser setup, that's where you have multiple drivers in a race losing control in the exit of turn 4 in some cases at this racetrack we've seen in the past. So it's about just managing that, keeping up the pace, and hoping you do not lose too much time and smack the wall.
Well, we started lap 52, so we're just a little bit past halfway. I need to pay better attention myself, but let's take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game, with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and more. As they run on lap 52 here, Jeff Ward is the man out front, Spencer Preet running in second, Justin Bolton third, Ryan Wash in fourth, John T. Wimbish in fifth, Michael Cozy Jr. in sixth, Chris Berg seventh, Derek Paulson in eighth, Mike Montesi ninth, and Steve Ritter rounds out the top 10.
And a lot of drivers in the early to mid-teens have had quiet days so far, with Mark Arthur in the 11th spot, with Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Matt Ridgway, along with Brian McRae in the top 14, Scott W. Brown Jr. in the top 15, with David Netzel on his own in 16th. Jonathan Smith 17th with Doug Johnson, Jay Graves, along with Kyle Vincent Gilbert recovering from his caution, rounding out the top 20.
It's going to be Jason Taylor there in 21st. Ashton Schleiss had a rough start to this race. He's down in 22nd. Zachary Sprung, 23rd. Jeffrey Patterson, 24th. Mark Goen in 25th. Andrew Ridgway, 26th. Travis Brown, 27th. And Jason Anderson is going to round out the 28-car field. He's already retired after his early incident as well. So 28 cars started, 27 continue to run right now. And that's been a look at your iRacing at Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. So there you go, Justin. We got a familiar name out front. These guys are probably getting sick of seeing Jeff Ward lead the field here for the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by SESRA, but nonetheless, he is the man out front. Spencer Preet, like he's chasing him in the championship, second in command here of this race as well. The lead is just under 1 second. What does Spencer Preet have to do to ultimately catch back up to that 9?
I think it might come down to half pit strategy if it stays green, half trying to focus up. He was able to keep up with Ward and actually gain some time for a few laps after he's passed on by. Right now, he's just started to get tight again. So he's going to need to gather back up, try and regroup, and find the pace that he had before, as the pit window, though, is now open as Cozy goes for the undercut.
A little bit earlier than I might have expected, given the last time we saw them hit pit road, but I guess this means that he's definitely going to make one more stop before this thing's all said and done, as he pits here on lap 55 from the 6th position. So Michael Cozy Jr. works his way to the attention of the 99 pit crew, gets into the box well this time, no mistakes. Right side goes up, he'll get his 4 tires and fuel. So the first of our leaders to hit pit road. We'll see how this benefits him. Justin, how do you see this playing out for the undercut?
I think right now, give or take, depends on when the rest of the leaders come in, because if it's a undercut of about 5 laps, I think I'm nervous about that decision. If it's only a couple compared to who he's competing with as Wash comes in, that's where it's not as big. He can gain a few seconds alone just on this undercut. It's just about hoping that you didn't go too early and then lose so much time just on the difference of 5 laps, which is about a half a second to a second difference in fall off, that it can absolutely drop you down the grid.
Wimbish joined him on pit road as well, so it's Wash and Wimbish. Try saying that 3 times fast. The 2 W's here on pit road as they get their service. So now we'll be keeping an eye on the leaders to see how long they wait to hit pit road. But, you know, historically, we've waited for Ward and Preet to see who blinks first, and typically they just wait as long as possible. We think they're coming. They keep proving us wrong. Preet definitely is the one to be a little bit more aggressive on the pit strategy and stay out longer. So that's really going to be the big thing to see. But so far, no indications that they're going to be hitting pit road anytime soon. Both still on the racetrack working through the short chute between turns 1 and 2 right now. But internally, that clock has to sort of go off in your mind as Cozy works past Jeff Ward to sort of unlap himself there. That clock's got to be going off in your mind saying, all right, I know some guys have pitted now behind me. It's only a matter of time before I need to hit pit road so they don't make up too much time.
Yeah, we're starting to see more and more drivers do it towards the back half of the field. But you got to remember, too, it gets to where if you're past 10 seconds back, give or take, at least you will fall off the lead lap essentially when you go into pit. The pit delta is nearly a full minute here at the Brickyard, so you gotta time it up well. Make sure you're able to get the right tire strategy is hit on, as well as make sure you get enough fuel in. For these drivers, it's going to be a very tight stretch for some of the undercut drivers to potentially make it all the way to the checker flag from here on out.
I misspoke. That's the 38 of Jeffrey Patterson, who was fighting there with Jeff Ward in the number 9. It almost looked like Cozy. Similar colors, but a different number and an entirely different driver nonetheless. But, yeah, keeping an eye on Jeff Ward to see when he'll bring that number 9 down pit road. And I would imagine if it's, we're on lap 58 right now, I would imagine he's probably looking at stretching this thing out to be the last pit stop. He's got to feel good about where he is on the track, knowing that he doesn't have any damage. He's got a nice little lead over Spencer Preet, who does have damage. And they got a pretty big gap back to third. Justin Bolton's some 5 seconds back right now and losing time lap over lap. So Jeff Ward really in the catbird seat, as they like to say. So he can sort of dictate his own pace here. He can stay out for longer and just make it one more pit stop, and try and maybe pit around lap 70. So he has to do 30 laps there and call it a day.
Yeah, as long as he can make that fuel number, he'll be in the perfect spot. Him and Preet. So that's going to get a little close. Right now, they are just under 30 laps into the run overall. Pardon me. Yeah, pardon me. In fact, yes, indeed. Just under 30 laps into the run right now, entering now lap 59 on the circuit. So it is going to be 32 overall. Thank you very much, Mr. Director, sir. Or with the way the fuel is, so he can still get it at least a few more laps on the fuel.
While they continue to work around the racetrack, they're not pitting this time. Let's talk about our sponsor of this series, Dr. Squatch Soap Company. They raised the bar for the men's grooming industry and changed the way men approach their hygiene by providing healthy, all-natural products that allow you to feel like a man and smell like a champion. You go to their website, use promo code SESRA15 at drsquatch.com for 15% off your first order. So make sure to head over to drsquatch.com, put in promo code SESRA15 as the caution flag flies here for the second time tonight. What do we got on the racetrack here that's brought out this yellow flag?
And for the second time tonight, Kyle Vincent Gilbert gets in trouble just behind Cozy Jr., in fact, too, as getting in the wall, it looked like, was Jason Taylor, sends the 227 spinning, brings out the yellow, and this is going to make things absolutely interesting here because everyone who did not hit will absolutely benefit. Drivers like Cozy Jr. will lose spots because of this undercut decision by some of the drivers.
A tough spot there for the drivers as Cozy Jr. was charging hard on the fresh tires and just trying to go 3 wide on the bottom, expecting Kyle Vincent Gilbert. He had the room there, but Jason Taylor, I don't think, expected to be put 3 wide and just ran out of real estate up into the wall. And he had so much wheel into to the left to keep it out of the wall. When they got back to the straight part of the track, it just hooked a dead left into Kyle Vincent Gilbert, and around they go. So just a tough situation, a car with fresh tires coming through at a high rate of speed. Guys trying to be respectful of that, but you just run out of room. That safer barrier reaches out and grabs the 51 of Jason Taylor, and unfortunately, Kyle Vincent Gilbert ends up on the rough side of that one.
Yeah, absolutely bad luck today, unfortunately, for Kyle Vincent Gilbert. Second caution involved in today, too. Still lucky to hold on to the top 20, but this absolutely shakes up everything, all from one major mistake. And now, it's about who can capitalize from here on out. Because there's still drivers, the ones who undercut, if my calculations are correct, that still have one more set that will still be able to do something. But the drivers who did not pit have an extra set because of the caution that you see on your screen.
Absolutely, and I imagine we'll see Jeff Ward and others who have only made one pit stop indeed come down pit road, and here comes the number 9, the 00, Justin Bolton as well. And I think this gives a good opportunity for guys like Preet and Bolton to fix the damage as well on the cars pitting under yellow as opposed to under green. Really a big benefit for them. They can address some of these body concerns that they have on the race car and try and maximize their straight line speed. They know they were lacking just a little bit to the undamaged car of Jeff Ward, so really a huge boon for them to be able to do this under the yellow flag, especially for Bolton. Seems to have a lot more damage, but these drivers get into their pit stalls. Everyone appears to get in clean, except for Jeff Ward and Spencer Preet. Overshoot just a little bit, have to back up, so a couple of small mistakes. We'll see how that plays out as this race off of pit road should get pretty exciting.
Both of them made mistakes that took about the exact same time to try and recover. When Preet ran through Ward's Vox trying to go in, Preet still was able to manage, but look at Derek Paulson. A blistering pit stop of 14.7, not the fastest overall of the race, but fast enough to gain a lot of track position, as well as Cozy Jr., who's throwing a bit of a gamble here by taking 2 tires at a track you do not want to take 2 tires with, especially a 5 lap difference.
We talked about at the top of the show some guys that might try to get a little bit cute and take 2 tires. Now, remember, Cozy Jr. was the first one to pit, but looks like he had a little bit of an issue that's going to make him fall back through the pack. He's probably going to have to come in, get those other 2 tires, a mistake for the 99, and that strategy is going to fall by the wayside.
Yeah, it looks like in terms of him, he was 64 miles per hour at the pit exit trying to beat Jeff Ward out. So this strategy has absolutely backfired for Cozy Jr. It wouldn't have worked in the first place either. It's a difference of about a second in pace just trying to manage the 2 tires. You're going to be absolutely slow trying to get yourself around the track with the 2 tires in any sort of vehicle at this circuit where it is difficult to work out.
It's difficult to say how that would have worked out for Michael Cozy Jr. We won't get to find out. Unfortunately, he'll fall to the back of the pack, probably come down pit road and get those other 2 tires affixed to the vehicle. Might as well. You can't take them with you. But it looks like he's going to stay on track here. So it's interesting. I think in the grand scheme, it probably wasn't going to work out, but it was worth trying as he had so much real estate to try and make up on these guys, and he felt confident that the left side tires weren't wearing nearly as much as the right side, so throw some new right sides on and take it to the end of the race for 35 laps or so. But a mistake on pit road, one of those unforced errors we talked about, Justin, you just can't afford to have those, and it will bite the driver of the 99.
It's going to be absolutely difficult just to gain some of the spots back now. On top of have to go to the back. Now you're forced to take 2 at this run with the 2 for the rest of the race. That was his last set of tires, mind you. I don't see this working out for the rest of this race, just based on past experience here at the Brickyard, where drivers who have done that, trying to get something with under 10 to go, are usually 10 to 15 miles per hour off the speed compared to drivers on 4 in the middle of the apex, and usually stack drivers up.
Well, let's take a moment before we go back to green flag racing here to step aside and play a couple commercial breaks and get set up for what should be a very exciting conclusion to the historic 250 here on LSRTV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We make our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. Ingredients like oils, plants, goat's milk, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, shea butter, and citrus. No. Turn your shower game up to 11 with the smooth lather of gold moss or the exfoliating woodsy bliss that is pine tar. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. You want to smell like the forest? Boom, pine tar, we've got you. You want to smell like the sea? Boom, nautical sage, we've got you. You want to smell like you just got off a boat in the Caribbean? Boom, bay rum, we've got you. And with 6 more cents, we've got you covered no matter what kind of man you are. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. Here's a couple reviews from real customers. Joseph S. says,
"This is the perfect bar of soap. It's like it was handcrafted in the Northwest Forest by beautiful tiny elves."
Oh, tiny elves isn't enough for you? Well, here's another review from Michael A.
It makes you feel like you just stepped out of a mountain stream, and Squatch was there to hand you the towel.
Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men.
Back live here at the Brickyard for what's setting up to be a very exciting last 35 laps here for the historic 250 in the Dr. Squatch Pro Series, presented by SESRA. David Schildhouse here with Justin Prince and JP. We've had a great 64 laps up to this point, a couple of yellow flags, getting ready for a restart here, and a couple guys on the front row that should bring a lot of excitement.
Both of them staying on old tires, part of the undercut drivers. This could get very hairy on the exit of turn number 2 in this restart, especially with the speed difference.
Pace car is down and away, and so is the number 1 of Ryan Wash, leaving these guys in the dust. Spencer Preet doing his best to hold tight as he'll fight for second alongside Wimbish, but Wash got a great jump. Derek Paulson jumps down to the inside as well. They're going to go side by side through turns 1 and 2. Paulson in the 5 looking to get past the 91. These guys on old tires are going to be at a real big disadvantage. These guys on newer tires are going to slice through the field, but you got to do it with a lot of patience. Jeff Ward now works his way down to the inside. He'll look to get past Wimbish as well off of 2. Here comes Preet now, down to the inside, down the back straightaway, looking to bring Paulson with him as they fight for the lead.
And this is great execution by these top drivers to get around the older tires quickly while not being over-aggressive. Wash getting out of the way, hoping maybe for an extra caution to have that one to get balanced on that extra set. But this run is going to be an absolute wash for them, unfortunately, as they'll drop on by already. The top 7 quickly get on by the drivers on just a couple lap older tires.
I like how you worked in the Wash joke there. I was wondering if you were going to be able to go there, and you did it. I'm proud of you. I think we've managed to work that in each week that he's shown up, so to have a driver with a name like that really affords us some good opportunities. We appreciate that, but Jeff Ward is the guy I'm watching right now, fighting for 4th. As he looks to the back bumper of Ritter, and I think as I just heard from Brett Wheeler, Dr. Squatch appreciates a good wash as well. Squatch and Wash. A lot of tongue twisters here, JP, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, and the drivers are getting through the older tire traffic right now. The only hope for them right now, I think, strategy-wise, they're hoping that there's a caution within these next 35 laps, because they'll have it still right now back on the same strategy as the drivers who had stayed out prior to the last caution. That has to be the main key here as everyone just cycles on forward, but now the fastest of the fast, Spencer Preet out there with Jeff Ward, but look at the pace Derek Paulson's now setting in this race. Just 2/10 off of Preet.
Loud Pedal Motorsports representing 2nd and 3rd right now. Spencer Preet from Rebellion Racing out front looking behind and seeing this team tandem coming his way. Derek Paulson, we talked about at the top of the show. I might have been off the air when I was talking about him, but I did talk to him before this race, and he has just been on this terrible streak of luck lately, even going back as far as Watkins Glen, seemingly caught up in a wreck every week, not of his making, and not getting really good finishes. He felt really down, and I asked him about how that affects his mentality as a race car driver coming into tonight. He said he's just trying to put it all behind him, and as I look out on the track, see him running 2nd in that number 5, he's got to be feeling real good about things at this point and putting all those bad finishes out of his memory.
I agree with you. You have to put those kind of things out of your memory to be able to keep on cruising on away if you're a driver like Paulson in a situation really like him to try and gain points. Of course, top 3 in the points entering tonight, 26 points back. Good chance to gain some points right here, right now, if he can somehow find a way to stay at least inside the top 5 for the checker flag in his best track position of the night.
We look at the driver, the number 8 here, Taylor Butcher Benjamin. This is a great story. He started in 18th. He's worked his way up to 4th in that number 8. That unsponsored Chevy Camaro doing work out there. Let's give a call to him, JP. Doing a great job. Kept the car clean. Had a lot of action around him, but he's doing a great job. Played the strategy correct as well. And he's got himself a very solid 4th place run going right now.
Yeah, got to give it to him for sure. For him, it was a pretty quiet race for parts of the night tonight, but plus 14 since the start of the race. Some of it from pit strategy, some of it from luck. But he kept the car clean. He's been able to just run his own race, and now the question is, can he keep running that own race up at the front? Because the way things are shaken up with some of the drivers strategy-wise, he could be in line for a possible top 10 with some of the best currently on the old tires, trying to match back up to the rest of the drivers, or just with left side tires left for the remainder of the race, just to go in the pits.
He would feel real good about a run like that, and we watch these intervals between the drivers. And it comes because of our friends over at Joel Real Timing, and coverage of the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by SESRA is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. So whether you spend your time on the sim behind the wheel, on the pit box, or from the spotter stand, JRT is the go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. You can get yourself a basic download for free, or pony up a little bit of cash and get the pro version today at joel-real-timing.com. Do not type in hyphen, just put a hyphen figure into the search bar when you go and see our friends at Joel Real Timing. So big thanks to them. And I look at the timing between the 8 and the 16, close up pretty closely here. Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Steve Ritter getting real close on the racetrack down the front straightaway.
Yeah, but Butcher Benjamin right now seems to be a little bit faster down the straight and a little bit later on the brakes compared to Ritter, where Ritter starts to try and gain that set time back, is on the corner exits where the best of the best can do it. And he's doing that. Butcher Benjamin, though, he's tight on the corner exit, and this is going to lose him a lot of time and possibly the fourth place spot on the racetrack and allow Montesi to come back into the battle.
Yeah, I haven't talked a whole bunch about the driver, the number 7 here tonight. Mike Montesi doing a nice job. Been sort of running in the back half of the top 10 for much of the evening, and now looks ahead and sees a very vulnerable driver in Taylor Butcher Benjamin. So if he can find a way around him, that will put himself up into the top 5, a place he has not been yet tonight. But Montesi's been a driver this season who's been pretty stable, pretty consistent for the most part. It hasn't had that breakthrough finish yet that he's been looking for, but it's been very competitive as that battle for second place now is really getting spicy. Jeff Ward will take over the second place. His teammate Derek Paulson doesn't fight him too much and just lets him go.
And I think that's the case of knowing there's a faster car coming behind you. Let your teammate go. You don't want to start a civil war, some may say, between fellow teammates. And that's what's being done. Help your teammate. Try and work with him, because at this point, it could be an interesting finish to say the least, because when we hit green, it was just past the window to make it on fuel.
Are you suggesting there's some drivers that may not be able to make it all the way?
Possibly. Chris Berg, before he knocked out of this race a moment ago after having an unsafe pit exit, was the only driver so far to try and pit for fuel. Drivers right now could potentially have to hold on the clutch to try and make it an extra couple of laps, because the fuel mileage around 35 laps. When we restarted this race, including drivers being able to hold in the clutch, we restarted with 37 to go.
Interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on that. These guys know what they got in the fuel tank. They're going to tune appropriately, but you know, we didn't think that it would be much of an issue, if any, on fuel, but if these guys are leaving themselves on that teetering edge of being just short, that could definitely be something that changes the outcome of this race.
Right now, I've been following along with the wind valve stream to try and see. It looks like he might be one of the drivers in the 99 machine that has to stretch it while on 2 old tires, mind you. So there is a few drivers that are having to start to maybe hold in the clutch, and if drivers start to try and split the run in half, that's where the drivers... This could get really interesting to see the difference in fall-off around this track between the drivers who stay out hot to hold in the clutch to gain that extra couple laps and where they can go from here.
You know, when I think fuel mileage race, I think of potential unexpected winners. We've certainly seen that play out over the broad spectrum of motorsports and NASCAR and other forms of racing as well, both in real life and on the simulation side. So that's something that opens up as a possibility. Some guys that maybe aren't going 100% like our leaders are, that are playing for the fuel strategy and hoping that the guys in front of them can't make it. We could see an unexpected name go to victory lane here. And JP, you know as well as anybody, a win here at the Brickyard, that's a very, very hotly contested thing, and something that as a race car driver you will never forget.
Exactly. There's a lot of history at this racetrack over the years. Of course, more than 100 years with the Indy 500. Since the 1990s with the Brickyard 400 is one of the crown jewels in the NASCAR Monster Energy, in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, pardon me. Need to get the name proper there. It is one of the most memorable tracks to win. It's one of the most challenging as well to try and manage as the race goes on, as well as to make sure you keep out of the big messes and big wrecks. it will be one that many drivers will remember for time to come.
So we're 25 laps to go. I'm keeping an eye on the number 11 of Justin Bolton as he tries to work his way back up through the field. He took some time to repair the damage to the right front of that number 11 Chevy, and he's caught the backpack here. The number 8 of Butcher Benjamin will be the next car he's able to get past. That will put him up to 5th. And taking a look at the lap times, he's sort of mirroring the lap times of Spencer Preet. A little bit slower than Jeff Ward. But, you know, as he's got the draft to his benefit, I think the lap times are evening out. If he can get past the 8 of Butcher Benjamin and catch him past the 16, he's going to be in a pretty good position. He's only 4 seconds back. And maybe the yellow flag flies that helps bring him back into the fold. But a pretty nice recovery here as he sets up this pass down the back straightaway.
And he did the smart thing, I think, during that caution, repaired all the damage he could, every single ounce of it. There's still some slightly on the right front, of course, from how much he dented it in. But that amount of damage was a huge difference for the car. Sacrifice the time now. You know you have the pace. You can gain it back way later and get lucky if you get a caution. He's got one of the top cars in the field. He's just got to make sure he gets around these drivers as quick as he can, like he's doing, and getting some luck, knowing that the drivers around him know he's got a quicker pace this time by on the racetrack. In fact, last time was the fastest with a 53.2. This time by, he falls to a 53.5 with traffic, but still top 5 in lap time.
And even better for him, he got around both of those cars pretty quickly. He didn't get held up whatsoever. So now put Justin Bolton back up to 4th and charging as he has clear track ahead of him. The next car he'll be hunting down will be the 5 of Derek Paulson. So a possibility that he's able to pull some time back here as Jeff Ward continues to creep in on the back of Spencer Preet. But big picture here, Justin Bolton now with a new lease on life up to 4th with some clear track ahead of him. If he can track down the 5 of Paulson and get past him pretty quickly, it might be back to a 3-car fight for the win.
It might be potentially right now as the battle is starting to close on up that we talked about a little bit. Ward slowly creeping in on in. Preet's good on the short run. Ward is better on the long run because of how they set up. I think Preet was hoping maybe it was a bit more caution heavy, and that's where it falls off around the lap 16 to 18 of the run. Ward, he just wakes up with how his car is set, with how he's handling this car to be able to take off for lap 18 onward to be able to manage this tight setup.
We talked about the car that Justin Bolton just worked past, the number 16 of Steve Ritter. Remember, he originally qualified 6th, but took an EOL penalty and started at the back of this field. Worked himself up into that top 5 situation, so a nice job there. 2 cars, he and Butcher Benjamin both starting deep in this field and working themselves well into the top 10, top 5 for one of them. So let's give a call to him as well. Great job for Steve Ritter driving that number 16.
Yeah, very clean and able to get some luck as well as slowly but methodically make passes to get back up into the top 5, and that's what got him to fix that damage control. He stayed what he needed to do, as I talked about it before, calm and collected, and a short memory to be able to pull it away as he gets really tight. In fact, nearly taps the wall as Butcher Benjamin tries to pick him back up.
We've seen it all night, guys, getting tight off of corner exit there, and somebody seemingly always on the back bumper to take advantage of it. Butcher Benjamin now underneath and through for the change. So swap those guys around, put Taylor up to 5th, Steve Ritter back to 6th. Just another mistake there, one of those unforced errors we talked about all night here tonight. That can cost you a position. He's lucky that's all it cost him.
And things can get a lot more interesting as now not only do they have to manage that traffic of Jason Anderson down on power, the lead is down to within 1 second for Jeff Ward. With just about 20 laps to go coming this time by, it could be Ward's race to lose. He just has to make the pass and take off. I think Preet's not going to make it easy, though, this time, with it being so late in the race, and could be the race-winning move.
Last time we saw these two, Spencer Preet, who made a mistake off of turn 2 and just let Jeff Ward go. I think you're right, JP. I don't think it's going to be that way this time by when the 9 gets to him. I don't think he's just going to let him go. You can't. We're down to 20 laps to go. You can't just let the guy by. You got to make him earn it. And And I think ultimately that damage to the right front of Spencer Preet, one of those self-inflicted wounds, is going to be the difference here. He stopped. He got it fixed as best he could, but it doesn't make it go away. It still does affect the straight line speed of the 00. And Jeff Ward doing a great job closing in. Just got to take his time, be patient, and he'll execute that pass. We've seen him do it all season long. That's why these two have been the top of the class when it comes to the standings to every race that we've seen. They fight back and forth. Jeff Ward knows Preet's got 4 wins. Jeff Ward only has 3. He wants to match him. This is a great opportunity here. If he can get past the 00, he can get himself that 4th win.
And you can see the differences in the styles again. Ward, later on the brakes, getting on the gas as quick as he can, sacrifices some time in the apex, but gains whatever he can, specifically turns 4 and turns 2. You see it here. Ward, about 10 feet later on the brakes, has to let off the gas for an extra half a second rather, still able to keep the time and stick the time. He's done that for lap after lap in the past few moments compared to Preet, so he's right now in the perfect spot. He does it again in turn number 1.
I like it. I like the difference here. You got to do something to sort of well, for lack of a better term, do something different than the guy in front of you. That's really the best way around it. If you're going to get a run in here, you got to do something different, get your nose into that clean air. You can't just run in a guy's tire track, so you're not getting any air to that front end. And look at the run Jeff Ward gets, getting great draft down the back straightaway, allows him to close in just that much more, down to about 3 car lengths, almost 2 car lengths going into turn 3. But yeah, that alternate entry into turn 3, a little bit later drive down, but allows him to drive straighter off with better speed through the chute and sets up for a great turn 4 for him. He closes in once again, getting a little bit better run through the bottom lane there as Preet fades out to the outside wall.
Preet nearly scraped the rear right top, the quarter panel, in fact, against the wall, just avoided the said contact. But Ward, right in the perfect spot. This time he has to back up because now he's got to make sure he doesn't run over Preet and maybe back up the corner to get the run. Nearly taps the wall, in fact. A bit too much into the gas to try and get the run on the corner exit. But this is where, in turns 2 and 4, he's been much better than Preet. If he can just get a good run through turn 1, he can get the job done as Preet moves to the bottom side to try and break the draft.
Big defensive line down the back straightaway there, trying to break that draft as well, and Spencer Preet knows the pressure is on. This is the make or break point of this race right now. If he's going to try and get his 5th win of the season, he's got to do everything. But Jeff Ward, great run into turn 4. Look at how much he closed up there, JP. He's going to get himself a great run down the front straightaway, but he can't do anything with it at this point. Preet did a nice job getting off of the corner, and they sort of maximized their time and equalized there.
Actually sparked up some sparks, in fact, on the right rear quarter panel against the wall, not bringing any damage. But Ward is getting these great runs. He just has nowhere to take it. He can't cut underneath the left rear quarter panel to try and make the pass work. He's going to have to try and diamond off the corner if he wants to try and make the move. Preet's going to block that racing line as long as he can to make sure he tries to hold on to a potential victory here.
Preet's done a great job to take the line away that Jeff Ward really wants to use to try and set this pass up. Again, in talking with Jeff Ward before the race, I asked him, how do the rumble strips affect the race car around here? You have those rumble strips at the inside of each one of these turns. He said they definitely loosen the car up. They can help it rotate more, but if you grab too much of it, it'll bring the rear end around and you'll be spinning out. So we'll see if he leverages those, but he got a great run off of 4 this time as they get close to the start-finish line, closing in, but has to pedal it back once again. All that run, but nowhere to go. You don't want to try and pass a guy on corner entry if you're not up alongside of him. So once again, Spencer Preet in the good defensive lane to just hold off these advances for now.
Yeah, he let off the gas, as you mentioned there, cutting it at 185 miles an hour. And you got to remember the fuel mileage a little bit tight on these cars. Some of them might hope for caution. Some of them have possibly been holding the clutch. A lot of the drivers in the mid-teens to the 20s have been pitting in this window. So that's got to be kept in mind. Do they have enough on the gas? It was about a lap and a half to try and save as Ward gets the run again. This time just can't get where he needs to get the job done on Preet, and now they got drivers on fresh tires coming with Jay Graves Jr. about 10 car lengths back.
And not too far behind Jay Graves Jr. is Justin Bolton. He's brought this lead down to 2 seconds, gave up a little bit of time to let Graves through on the fresh tires, but Justin Bolton is getting closer lap after lap. Closed in from 4 seconds. He's cut that in half down to 2 seconds. So there's a very good possibility now inside of 15 laps to go Justin Bolton could work his way to the front and mix it up with these guys as Ward now has to give way underneath Jay Graves Jr. What is Graves Jr. going to do here? Backs off. It's a tough position, JP. You don't want to mess with the leaders, but you got fresh tires and you want to go. So it's a tough spot to be in, but I think Graves Jr. is doing the right thing right now, trying to find a way to tiptoe past these guys, but not ultimately mess up the fight for the lead.
If he did the move right there, he could have cost Preet the lead. That's why he's backing off, waiting until he can pass both of them in one go. As Ward right on the back doorstep, just keeping it to where Graves Jr. cannot even make a move yet, and backing off the gas as well. So it's, I think, getting very, very tight. And with all of this helping, you mentioned there with the 11 and Justin Bolton, the more they do this, the more Bolton's going to close on in as they hold each other up.
Absolutely right. That's Bolton's best friend right now, are these two continuing to fight with the lap car in the mix. It's such an awkward position. Here goes Graves now down to the inside, but again, here comes Jeff Ward. Here comes the block from Preet, moves him down to the grass almost. This is going to get interesting. Side by side into 3. Jeff Ward's going to stuff it down to the bottom. Preet's going to fight hard as he can on the outside, but there's just not enough grip out there to really do anything. Ward's going to clear him now through the chute, put Jeff Ward back out to the front. Spencer Preet cuts off Jay Graves. He cannot afford to let the 9 get away.
And he almost made it stick, but bubbled right in the middle of apex of turn 3. And that could be the move of the race, to cut down as quick as he could while taking advantage of the draft from behind of Graves Jr. to make the pass stick. Now it's just about drive away, drive away. You can't afford to tap the wall or make a mistake or over push to try and get away from Preet.
Preet in a tough spot now as he's starting to visibly lose some time. He's got the 86 breathing down his neck as well. And again, it's a tough spot for Graves Jr. Where do you want him to go? He's got better tires. He could pass if he wants to, but ultimately he knows these are the leaders fighting for the win, so it doesn't really do him any good to do that. He's just sort of pedaling as best he can right now, but we've seen Spencer Preet, who's known as one of the most aggressive drivers in this series, do everything he can to win a race, including inflicting some damage to his race car. And here we've already seen him do it once tonight. The possibility runs high as he tries to track down the 9 that he might do it again, but perhaps he can use the 86 to help him catch back up to the 9, get a little push from behind if possible.
And you just seen that, I think, there too. He got that push, in fact, that caught him off an extra car length down the straight. So right now, Graves Jr. is right where Preet needs him to be. He just needs to hope that he can get enough of a corner exit and take advantage of a mistake from Ward without getting tight like that right there to be able to maybe try and make a move on back. It might come down to using the bumpers with the way these two have been driving tonight.
Well, we've seen them battle for 10 weeks now. 11th, why be any different? They've been very clean with one another. They enjoy racing against one another as well. So I don't expect any bump and run per se unless it's just the way the circumstances play out. But I think they both try and avoid that as much as possible. I know Preet wants to beat him fair and square as best as possible, and Jeff Ward feels the same. But again, this trio of cars with the lap car playing in at the back of the pack, I think is really keeping Preet in this fight.
It is for sure right now. If Graves Jr. had gone on by or was way farther back away from the back of Preet, I think Preet would be at least 5 car lengths back right now, because this is about the same point of the run last time where the tires started to melt off the right front of his car. Right now, Graves with the draft is helping him make up the time he's losing in the corners by pushing him up to the back bumper of Ward each time. But even as this is going on, Bolton is gaining inch by inch. A tenth slower is Ward compared to Preet because of the draft from behind, and that is helping Bolton. The question is, could this become a 3-car battle within the final 5 laps?
10 laps to go this time by for Jeff Ward, Spencer Preet, and Justin Bolton. What does Preet have? As he makes a bold move down to the inside now. What a run down the front straightaway he got. He'll put himself back out front. Completely caught Jeff Ward by surprise. Ward had no ability to block that maneuver whatsoever. And just a huge amount of life from the 00. Where did that come from?
It looked like there that Ward was maybe trying to save a little bit of fuel at the same time. Remember, he's been letting off the gas at the end of the straights. In terms of this circumstance, didn't do so. It was just a matter of Preet taking advantage. And as soon as he got underneath, Ward had to break in a little bit later in a higher arc, and now Preet is now in the driver's seat. The question is, though, can Ward catch back up the way he drives these corners when driving behind somebody?
He's really lost a lot of time. Jeff Ward has, since Preet took the lead over. That lead is extended out to almost a half a second now in one lap. So a lot of fuel saving there for the number 9. Cost him a lot of time on the track as he's got Jay Graves Jr. behind him, pushing him along. And Justin Bolton taking a look at the timing and scoring, 1.7 seconds back from Spencer Preet. So I'm not sure if Jeff Ward has to go into fuel-saving mode. He can't chase this win anymore, or if he's just trying to save for a little bit longer and then make one more run at it.
Here's the question, can Preet make it? Because he's been near full throttle in a lot of these corners just to try and battle and or keep away from Ward in this battle for the race lead. It's going to get interesting. Now he's trying to let off the corners and hold in the clutch, it looks like, to the corners. It could be absolutely close. And now you have Jonathan Smith and Justin Bolton. Justin Bolton following the lap car up to the leaders now, within 5 car lengths to the back of Jay Graves right now.
Huge benefit for Justin Bolton there to get that draft from the faster car. So we're going to have 3 leaders and 2 lap cars here probably before it's all said and done. That could shake out in a very interesting way as well. As we jump on board and try and figure this thing out, Justin Bolton trying to find a way to get back up to the lead here, if he can sort of ride the coattails of these lapped cars and get back up there. But I think he raised a good point there, Justin, of with the fuel strategy and these guys trying to save fuel and play some games, who's going to win out in this situation? I think Preet's been the bigger consumer of fuel than that of Jeff Ward.
I think potentially, and Ward just absolutely let off the gas halfway down the straightaway to lose even more so time. I think right now Ward's hoping that Preet burned up too much gas, as Preet now holding the clutch on the wrong line here. This is getting to the point where you have to make sure you don't race over-aggressive while trying to make sure you win, because if you over-push each other, you're both going to run out of gas coming to the checker flag or in the final lap.
Some of the most tense moments in sim racing right here when you're battling with another guy, and it's not even about who is the better performer. It's who can manage the fuel the best and maintain the greatest speed across these final 6 laps. Playing games with one another, it's whoever's going to blink first. But, you know, Jeff Ward's trying to push Spencer Preet. Spencer Preet trying to nurse that lead as one car goes way to the inside. That's a lap car there. No problem. No caution flag. But I think Jeff Ward's letting Preet get out there, probably hoping that Preet's used up more fuel and is just kind of, I don't know, coast his way to the end. But we could see multiple cars coast to the checkered flag here, not under power before it's all said and done.
Yeah, and outside of all of this going on, you have Derek Paulson still holding on to 4th. You got Michael Cozy Jr. still holding on to 5th while holding in the clutch since the drop of the green flag for the restart. And you have Taylor Butcher Benjamin also in the same situation, as look who is caught on up to the back of Jeff Ward. The 11 of Justin Bolton and the lap car of Jonathan Smith, as Jonathan Smith goes side by side. 4th position, mind you, with Jay Graves.
The battle within the battle, 2 lappers trying to figure it out, and I think Graves Jr. is just going to have to give way here. Bolton going to have to once again work his way past these guys as quickly as possible in order to maximize the amount of time that he's able to gain on Jeff Ward. Bolton down to the inside of the 23, trying to work past him as they get down into turn 3. Jeff Ward backing up even more here, and you can just see it visibly on the track, JP, of how much time Jeff Ward has given up.
Yeah, he has absolutely been letting off the gas by far. Halfway down the straightaway for the past 5 laps. It started about 3 quarters. Now he's backing even more so up. I don't know if this is going to be enough. Ward might just be in the bubble, as he's going to have to let Justin Bolton on by, and does exactly so here. A big difference in speed because of how he's been driving this car. And now there's 3 cars, lapped cars rather, behind him.
We have to question how much fuel has Justin Bolton used to drive up through the field. He's had the furthest to come out of anybody in the top 3 currently. Jeff Ward in super saver mode right now. Spencer Preet out pushing as far as he can to try and build the biggest gap possible, as we're on 4 laps to go next time by. Does Justin Bolton have a shot at this win? Seemingly he's not too concerned about conserving. He might have been conserving this whole time up through the field, using the draft to get up there and not using the throttle pedal.
Yeah, I'd be absolutely terrified right now if you're Jeff Ward and you realize that these 2 drivers in front can make it, because Justin Bolton looks like he might have saved some stuff in the early going. When he hit, it was just a 5-second stop. That's usually a sign of a slash and go, and may have had just a couple laps on the tires. This is going to be absolutely crazy. Who's going to make this strategy work is going to be the question. 1/10 of a second difference each lap still between Preet and Bolton now.
And it's pretty clear to me Jeff Ward's out of this fight. As we can see, he's fallen way back. He's lost a lot of time. He's falling back. He's off the gas. He just didn't manage the fuel enough. He knows he can't make it at the current pace. He might even lose a position to Derek Paulson before this thing is finished. But Paulson seems to be losing some time as well. But we'll keep our eyes up here between the top two. Spencer Preet, does he have enough left in the tank? Can he hold off the advances of Justin Bolton as we're getting ready to take 3 laps to go this time by?
It's still a difference of about 5 car lengths. I think if you're Preet, you're hoping you run out somewhere towards the start and finish. If you run out in turn 3 or turn 4, that's where Bolton, if he has enough gas, can zoom on by. If you run out in 3 and 4 and you both run out, guess who gets the bigger advantage? Jeff Ward could be the one that, if he's lucky, could be the one that catches up, still a corner behind these two.
Not many people this year have beat Jeff Ward on tire conservation, but I'm looking at 2 people right now who have beat Jeff Ward on fuel conservation. And that's the first time we've really seen that this season. Spencer Preet doing everything he can still out front in the 00. Justin Bolton trying to close in and manage the fuel as best they can as they come up on Jason Taylor, a lapped and damaged vehicle here who will give way through the corner. No problem for either driver getting past the 51 there. Justin Bolton will move down as well down the front straightaway. So here we go. 2 laps to go this time by. About 0.8 of a second separates the top 2.
Now is not a good place for Justin Bolton to reach lap traffic. Lap traffic trying to actually hit the wall to avoid him. But that extra little bit he had to get out of the gas to make the bottom side work could be absolutely huge if they both can make it on fuel. Now it's just about dialing in and hope that your strategy works out as we head a lap and a half to go.
We jump on board with Spencer Preet again. You can see and hear that engine shut off as he continues to conserve fuel down these straightaways as best as he can to try and nurse the vehicle to this checkered flag here. There'll be 1 lap to go this time by. White flag in the air as they work off of turn 4. Who's it going to be? Spencer Preet, Justin Bolton, or somebody else? This race has been absolutely crazy up to this point, and now it's all going to come down to the money lap, and it looks like Justin Bolton is closing as they go by the yard of bricks.
Yeah, Bolton's still faster down the straights by at least 2 miles per hour and getting later in the brakes with Preet holding in the clutch. It's going to get interesting as Preet nearly taps the wall when still going down on the pace. Bolton's got the faster car. Does he have enough time and the right amount of fuel in the car with half a lap to go?
1.5 lap separates one of these drivers from a checkered flag at the Brickyard. Who will it be? Spencer Preet has absolutely dominated this race, had to battle with Jeff Ward, much like he has for much of this season. Ward not able to hold on to the field. That put Preet in position to win this race, but Justin Bolton has raced his way back up through the field after getting damage. He finds himself in second spot as they work through the chute for the last time down onto the front straightaway. Checkered flag in the air. The Preet machine slows down ever so slightly, but it's not going to be enough. For the 5th time this season, Spencer Preet takes the checkered flag.
And able to get the strategy and keep up the back-to-back victories as well. Absolute domination on the early runs in this race. And able to just manage the fuel with the perfect amount to be able to just run out just after the checker flag.
An absolutely masterful job by Spencer Preet. That's going to be one excited driver. Can't wait to hear from him and the rest of your top 3. When we come back after this commercial break, we'll hear from the top finishers here from the historic 250 in the books on LSRTV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Listen up. The soap you shower with, it's you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. They're still using whatever bar their mommy bought for her little man. Is that what you want? To smell like mama's little man? Ugh. But now you can upgrade your shower game with Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. Or don't, and continue to be mommy's little helper. During the First World War, big soap started taking out all the natural ingredients to make production cheaper and faster. And they replaced all the natural stuff with chemicals. Chemicals like sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens, and dioxane. Chemicals linked to depression, liver damage, cancer, and low sperm count. And worst of all, dry skin. Oh, your poor balls. All dry, empty, and sad. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
Back live here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The historic 250 is complete. And what a race it was. 100 laps almost wasn't enough. I wanted to see more, but in the end, it is Spencer Preet who comes out on top. So let's take a look top to bottom at your LSRTV unofficial results. Spencer Preet takes home the checkered flag, barely edging out a hard-charging Justin Bolton. Jeff Ward rounds out the podium finishers. Michael Cozy Jr. fights back for a 4th position finish. Derek Paulson gets 5th. Mark Arthur gets a good run in 6th. Brian McRae up to 7th. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, making some big moves through the field. He will find himself in 8th. Matt Ridgway, 9th. Doug Johnson will round out the top 10.
Brian Walsh able to finish off 11th tonight with Steve Ritter inside the top 12. Also getting off and trying to run after not having enough fuel saved. And 13th was John Wimbish. Mike Moltesi also finished 14th, with Scott W. Brown running out of fuel in the final moments of the race. Last car in the lead lap, Kyle Vincent Gilbert, despite being involved in 2 different cautions, while Jonathan Smith was the first car lap down. Jay Graves Jr. had to let him on go as Justin Volton charged up, with Ashton Schliss in 19th. Round of the top 20 after taking a hard hit to the inside wall. Despite that was Zachary Sprun.
Jason Taylor comes home 21st. David Neitzel in 22nd. Mark Gowen 23rd. Jason Anderson 24th. Chris Berg in 25th. Jeffrey Patterson 26th. Andrew Ridgway 27th. And your final finisher here tonight, Travis Brown in the 0-1 finishes 28th and last. So, well, let's transition in here and talk to a top finisher here. Let's see if we can get a word with Spencer Preet. I know he's been under the weather for the past couple weeks. I remember talking to him back at New Hampshire. He sounded absolutely terrible. Got a win last week at Stafford, and now has gone back-to-back here. So I bet even though he might still be a little bit under the weather, winning cures all. So let's see if we can't get him in here and talk to the winner of our race. And there he is, Spencer Preet, for the 5th time this season. You got yourself a checkered flag. How's that make you feel? Are you still under the weather, or are you all over that?
I think I've finally got over whatever was going on the past couple weeks. But yeah, this is a big one because I wasn't entirely sure how it was going to pan out until pretty much 2 to go. This one kind of kept me on my toes all the way through.
The first time this season that I can recall, at least, that we've seen the fight on the track be surrounded or around the fuel situation. Normally it's tires managing that. Tonight it was a fuel mileage race. And so it looks like you ran out not far past the checkered flag. How much were you having to save? And when you looked up in the rearview mirror, saw Jeff Ward fade and Justin Bolton charge through, how worried were you?
Well, I was worried enough to the point that I was contemplating coming in and topping off before we even had that restart. And I think Bolton did come in and top off. And I think in the end, if I had topped off, I still probably could have won because he was down a little bit of straightaway speed after he had that incident with the lap car. And I know that was definitely hurting him and probably keeping him from being able to save as much or having to try harder to save because he's burning more down the front stretch and back stretch. So, yeah, I almost came in and topped off, but I didn't. And I was thinking, there's no way we're going to go all the way without a caution. And it started looking like it. And so after a little while, I was about 2 seconds or so ahead of Jeff while he was in third. And I was like, I think I should start backing these corners up and start clutching it. And eventually it got to a point where I was clutching it all 4 corners of the track and just trying to find any little spot that I could save as much as I could while not giving up that much time. And I think in the end that really helped. I think I started a little bit before he did. And when he ran me down, he kind of was just like lifting off down the straightaways, and I probably run about half throttle. It looked like in the mirror, and I don't know if that was saving him as much as it was for me to just kind of run all out down the straightaway and then back it up and clutch it and send it as far as I could into the corner and just roll. So either way, it worked out. And when he started really checking up, I kind of had a feeling that he was going to be short. And then I knew that Justin was definitely better on fuel, but I knew that I had more straightaway speed. And, all I had to do was really keep him a couple car lengths behind, and I'd be able to keep him back there.
Well, there's no greater thrill, I think, for any sim racing driver to go out and win at a historic racetrack. The Brickyard's certainly one of those historic racetracks. So tell the fans that are watching here tonight, what does it mean to win here at Indianapolis?
I love this place in real life, watching races here. It's great. But it's tough in the sim. It's real tough, especially on a fixed setup. Cars don't like it. These stock cars hate it. And these Xfinity cars really hate it on a fixed setup. And, it's some of the worst fall off, I think, maybe in the entire sim, at least for this car. It's really tough. So it's definitely a good feeling to be able to pull one out here, because everyone's kind of in the same boat of just struggling. No matter how fast you are, it's a struggle when you come to Indianapolis.
Well, as good a start as any that you could have for the Midwest segment, coming out with a win. So I'll give you the opportunity to say hello to friends, family, sponsors, and everyone else who helps you and that 00 get to victory lane.
Big thanks to everyone on Rebellion. Shout out to Dr. Squatch coming on as a title sponsor and sponsoring this race and being on my car. Big thank you to them, and make sure you use SESRA 15 at your checkout if you're getting anything on drsquatch.com. Save yourself 15%. Thank you to Cozy and his stream, everyone watching, and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
48 laps led tonight, and most importantly, led the last one. Spencer Preet, congratulations. We'll look forward to seeing you next week at Kansas.
Thank you. See you then.
All right, a happy sounding driver there, and Spencer Preet getting his win for the 5th time. And Justin, let's hear from our second place finisher, one Justin Bolton.
Indeed, Justin Bolton joins us here in the broadcast booth here on LSRTV. As Justin, coming away second today, had topped off on fuel right before the drop of the green flag for this restart. What was going through your mind as this became an absolute fuel strategy race tonight?
Yeah, that last pit stop came in third there, I think, right behind those guys, and would have came out there, but had damage and had to get that fixed. So I was going to be about 15th anyway. So I just decided to come in top off, and I don't know. Spencer somehow saved enough fuel to come out and even do a burnout after I had run out at the line. So I was pretty proud of myself for saving the right amount of fuel and running out just to the line. But I don't know if topping off was the right call or not. Either way, it certainly helped me after getting together with Andrew there on like 25 or something, and had about 30 seconds of damage, but I don't know if it would have made a difference or not. Spencer was fast, Jeff was fast, and it was just fun racing with those guys again. Cozy was up there too, but ended up second. I don't really like Indianapolis, but it was a fun race.
In terms of trying to make a move on free, there was some lap traffic that you had to manage. You, of course, worked with lap traffic on the draft. In your opinion, what would it needed to take to try and get the pass, to try and get right up to there, knowing that Preet was still having to hold in the clutch every single apex of the corner?
Being off on straightaway speed, I don't know if I would have been able to pass him unless he did run out. But, you know, if one lap card gets in their way, and I only finished, half second behind. So one lap card gets in the way, or Jeff and Spencer race for another lap or so, whatever, I could have been, you know, at least side by side with him. But obviously that didn't happen. He won. So, you know, we can all say what if, but, you know, he ended up getting the win, and congrats to him.
Of course, starting off the next part of the regionals for the Midwest off on a good note. Kansas is the next stop on the schedule. How do you feel about Kansas?
Oh, Kansas. What can I say about Kansas? With the track service like it is in iRacing and the changing weather, whatever, it is a little bit better than it was in the past. It's not just one lane for most of the race, but you can maybe run the bottom. I don't know with the fixed setup how it's going to be, but I know in the open stuff we were able to run the bottom a little bit. But with it just being highline, it's so tough to pass. It's going to be basically whoever qualifies first, comes out of pit road first every time, is going to be the leader for that segment. So,
indeed. Second to last question. David Schildhouse had mentioned this during the pre-race in the opening laps of this race, that the prize pool was increased for the series to include second place. I believe that also includes you. How do you feel about that? At least getting the prize pool, if that is the case, if I believe so.
No, I didn't even know there was one, to tell you the truth. So that's kind of cool, I guess. So thanks to him.
And real quickly, anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
I got to thank Matt and everyone at Simcraft. Like I said, at Dover, they've helped me and the team out a bunch with peak and pro stuff, and obviously still staying on the car for the rest of this year. That's cool of him. So thanks to Matt and all those guys and everyone back at the team, everyone that helps run this deal with Jason and all them, and Kevin, and thank you guys for putting on the broadcast.
And thank you very much for the time, Justin. Justin Bolton coming away second tonight here in the Dr. Sasquatch Pro Series presented by SESRA. David?
All right, let's hear from our third finisher here tonight, Jeff Ward. Jeff, we talked before the race. You felt pretty good about things, but in the end, the fuel mileage just didn't go your way. Walk us through those closing laps.
Yeah, David, we got pretty lucky to be able to hold on to third place there. Overall, I'm disappointed. Obviously, we had a real good car on the long runs, and I really feel like we could have won this thing if the strategy would have played out in our favor. Spencer did a heck of a job saving gas there. He was able to save, I don't know, probably a lap and a half, 2 laps more than me, and I was right behind him. I was letting off and doing all the things I feel like I should have to save fuel, but he was able to save a little more, and maybe the damage he had helped him save. I don't know, because I never touched the wall all night. Car was clean, and I watched guys all around me bouncing off all night, but it didn't pay off in the long run. So just got to work on saving fuel a little better. I hate when it comes down to those things, because I was going to try to save, and if it wasn't for fuel, try to get up there and have some tires to build a racing. But we'll take third and hang on to the points lead there. Lost the regional points lead. I think Spencer will have that now by a couple points. So we'll take third and move on to Kansas.
Now, I had remarked during the broadcast that nobody's beat you on tire conservation yet this season, but it seems we may have found your kryptonite in fuel conservation there. And despite your best efforts to keep that number 9 Mustang clean, as everyone else sustained some sort of damage. It just didn't come to fruition. But, walk us through the racing conditions overall here at Indy. Flat track, long straightaways, and a lot of traffic to work your way through. What was it like out there?
Yeah, I thought these Fords, according to how Brad Keselowski saves all the time, I thought the Fords were supposed to be pretty good, but I might have to go to Chevy because they're getting good mileage out there. But the track was great. The sun would come and go, and you could feel the car change a little bit, and the car was real tight up off pretty much every corner on the track, and even more so as the tires wore. So I felt like the race was playing in our favor, being able to save tires, and like I said, we were pretty good on long runs. But even with all that, things didn't fall our way there.
Well, I don't think we'll see you in a bow tie next week, but still funny nonetheless. But you did a great job. You brought it home in third, 40 laps led here tonight. I'll give you the opportunity to say hello to your friends, family, sponsors, and everyone else who helps you and the number 9 team get it done week in and week out.
Yeah, big thanks to Dr. Squatch. I'd like to thank you guys for doing a broadcast there at LSRTV. Thanks to SESRA for all they do, and guys behind the scenes there. Thanks to Loud Pedal Motorsports. As always, my teammate there, Derek, he got a 5th tonight, so he's heading in the right direction there. So that's a 3rd and a 5th. Can't be too mad about that. So and just thanks to friends and family.
All right, Jeff. Good job tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you next week at Kansas.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, third place finisher, the Jeff Ward. He's going to maintain the overall points lead, but like he said, Justin, he's going to give away the points lead for this Midwest portion of the schedule lead over to Spencer Preet, who gets his 5th win of the season.
Indeed, right now, but it's all about dialing back, and there's still 4 more races for that Midwest Regional to decide if you can come up as the champion for the regional. There's still some challenging tracks. Kansas is a bit challenging on its own, a 1.5 mile circuit. A lot of different lines you can take. Of course, the fastest line being the bottom of the racetrack, but it's about tire management to make sure you can keep running that line for as long as you can. Then you have tracks like Iowa, Texas, Gateway, that all throw in their each individual wrenches into the swing of things as the Midwest Regional continues to go on here in the series.
Well, that'll wrap things up for us here in 2018. We'll look forward to seeing you back next Thursday night in January 2019 from the Kansas Speedway for the Warpath 200. But until then, wish you a very happy new year to you and yours. Everybody, please be safe and come back and join us once again here on your home for live sim racing, LSRTV. So for our producer, Brett Wheeler and Justin Prince, I'm David Schildow saying congratulations to Spencer Preet on the win and good night from Indianapolis.
Listen up. The soap you shower with, it's you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. They're still using whatever bar their mommy bought for her little man. Is that what you want? To smell like mama's little man? Ugh. But now you can upgrade your shower game with Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men. Or don't, and continue to be mommy's little helper. During the First World War, big soap started taking out all the natural ingredients to make production cheaper and faster. And they replaced all the natural stuff with chemicals. Chemicals like sodium lauryl sulfate, parabens, and dioxane. Chemicals linked to depression, liver damage, cancer, and low sperm count. And worst of all, dry skin. Oh. Your poor balls, all dry, empty, and sad. Click the link for Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men.
The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSR TV, your home for sim racing.